How's it going, Blazor fans? Today we are going to go ahead and make a memory matching game. This was something that I saw on .NET Conf, and I hope that you were able to check out some of those videos as well. I haven't actually looked at the source code of the .NET Conf one, but I figured, hey, that'd be a good demo to make. If you're new to Blazor, then definitely we're going to start right from the beginning and kind of explain some basic things, but if we go too fast, go ahead and slow me down and ask questions as we go, or in the comment section after the video is over. Go ahead and ask some questions there too. So I did want to point out that we do have a new Discord server. We're just getting it started. So if you have any questions related to Blazor or web development in general, or just programming in general, go ahead and look us up and head on over to that server, and I'll be glad to talk with you there. We're hoping to just get a nice community going there, and I think that'll be a good time. So, all right, let's get into it. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a brand new project, and I'm going to make it a Blazor app. And if you haven't downloaded the newest version of Visual Studio 2019, I would recommend to do so, or Visual Studio Code if you prefer that. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a Blazor app here, and I'm going to just put it in my demos folder, and I'm going to call it memory match, and we'll go ahead and create that. All right. This will be the Blazor WebAssembly app, and in this case, we don't really need it to be hosted or anything like that, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit create. All right, I'm just going to create that project, and let's go ahead and get started. So just want to make sure here that we're in .NET 5. Yep, looks like we are. So .NET 5 came out this week, I think on Tuesday, or last week on Tuesday. It is Tuesday today. It came out a week ago. So if you don't have that yet, go ahead and get that .NET 5 and the latest version of Visual Studio. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go in here to the pages. By default, they give us this kind of standard thing. I'll go ahead and run it so you can see what we're working with to start with. But if you ever have made a Blazor app, you'll know what I'm about to show you. We've got this home counter fetch data. So we're going to go ahead and, we really don't need the counter or the fetch data, so let's go ahead and delete those. And I'm going to get rid of them on the navigation menu as well, just so we have as small of an app as possible. All right, so right here on the home page, let me get rid of all this. And let's put a header for the memory matching game. Blazor memory matching. Okay. Take turns selecting cards to match them. Sure. That sounds good. So let's go ahead and do maybe 16 cards, I guess. However you want to do it is fine. We'll go ahead up here and put a code block. I'm going to say int number of cards equals 16. And just for this demo, I'm not going to do any images or anything like that. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I think I'm just going to use letters, I guess, and we'll try to match those letters. So let's go ahead and let's see if we have 16. Well, actually, it'd be easier just to make numbers, to be honest. So let's go ahead and create a list of int. And in that list of int, we're going to have our cards, basically. Okay. And actually, I'm going to do this protected override void on initialized. All right, so right when we enter the function, or the component rather, we're going to create a list of cards. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to have 16 cards, and 2 of them will be 1, 2 of them will be 2, 2 of them will be 3, and so on. And you're going to try to guess which ones match. And if you get it right, then you get that pair. And if you don't, then you start over, or the next person goes, basically. So, actually, you know what? I need to put this outside of here. I'll just initialize it here. That's fine. Okay, so in the onInitialized function, I'm going to do a for loop, int I equals 0, I is less than number of cards, I plus equal 2. Normally you would do plus plus here, but we're actually going to insert 2 cards into the list at a time. So cards.add I, and whoops, whoa, how did I get way down there? Cards.add I. So basically we should add, well, let's actually start this at 1. We should start at 1, and we'll go ahead, well, actually this is not going to work. We got to do divided by 2 here, and then plus plus. Okay. So the first time through, we're going to add 1. The second time through, we're going to add 2, and we're going to add 2 of each of those. Okay. So by the end of this onInitialized function, we should have a list of 16 cards. So let's go ahead and create a grid. I'm just going to say div class is grid. Whoa. I'm assuming actually we have quite a bit of styles that Blazor gave us. So I'm going to make this a different class just in case there's one that they already gave us that matches this. So memory grid. And I'm actually going to use some isolated CSS here, which is something kind of new for Blazor with .NET 5. I'm going to do index.razor.css, and that's going to go right underneath my component. And now basically I can style my items just for this component in this CSS file. So I'm going to do memory grid as a class, so .memory grid. And inside there I'm going to do display grid. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a bit. Probably it's hard to read. Display grid, grid template columns. Let's give it let's give maybe 400 pixels, 400 pixels, 400 pixels, 400 pixels. Sure. So 4 columns, each of them 400 pixels wide, and we'll put a little bit of a gap in between each one of these as well. All right. And then inside there, we're going to have a bunch of, oh, I'm used to Sass. This is regular CSS. Okay. All right, .memory grid space div. So all of the div descendants, basically what we're going to end up doing is we're going to put a whole bunch of cards in here, like 16 of them, right? And they're going to have 1, 2, or whatever. They'll put their numbers of that card in that div. So let's go ahead and give those a height of 400 and a width of 400, and that should be fine. That's a good starting place for this. Let's just go ahead and write out all of the cards, and we'll go from there. So for each of our card in cards, that's I guess just an int, but we'll do div card. So basically what we're doing here is we're doing a for each loop, and if you never used Blazor before, this @ sign is what's going to be able to let you transition into C#. So we're kind of mixing C# and HTML together. So we got a memory grid, and we have cards for each one of those. Let's go ahead and run it, make sure we can see some cards so far. And actually, you know what, I need to switch my debugger here, just so it doesn't interact with my other windows that I'm not sharing at the moment. Okay, so we have a bunch of cards here, and now we just gotta go ahead and style them, and that should be fairly simple. So I'm just gonna put background of blue, color of white, and let's go ahead and, well, let's just see what that looks like first. Okay, so you get the idea. We're going to go ahead and try to center this number and make it a little bit bigger. So that's going to be, I'm going to just put that in a span, I guess. Okay. So this div is going to be display flex, and we'll go ahead and align the content in the center. I think that's how you do it. Let's go ahead and run it and see. No, let's see what's going on here. Okay. So maybe it's justify content center. Okay, that's going to center it horizontally, and vertically. Why is this span so huge? Vertical aligning things in CSS has always been a pain. Whatever, we won't vertical align it right now. I'm sure there's an easy way to do it, but I can't think of it at the moment. So we'll just put it in the center horizontally and make the font size maybe 40 pixels so it's nice and big. All right, we have to, for whatever reason, we have to rerun that. Okay, you get the idea. So what we want to do then is when they click this card, well, first of all, we want all the numbers to be hidden, and we want them to be randomized. So let's go ahead and do that for now. So dot memory grid div span display hidden, because remember, oops, not display hidden, display none, because remember these spans are inside this div, so the div will still be shown, but the spans will be hidden. And actually, no, I'm going to do this in Blazor. Sorry. Let's do that in Blazor. We're going to have a hidden attribute on the span, and we will set it to true or false depending on whether or not it's been clicked. So we'll just put a hidden attribute on here. That should hide this number. Okay. The other thing we want to do is we want to randomize these cards. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Alright, so rand equals new random, and this is something that we can get the next integer between you know, a certain value. So we're going to do 0 and 15 because that's how many cards we have. Well, honestly, I should do number of cards minus 1 if I'm doing it right. So that's going to give us between 0 and -1, or between 0 and number of cards minus 1. So let's go ahead and store that into an integer. And what we want to do with that is we want to basically get the integer at that random place and put it into the new list. So I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an int array, card array, I guess, equals new int number of card 16, I guess. Okay, so we've got an integer array, and it's going to be all empty to start. And what we want to do is we want to take this random number and say if card array at that random number is 0, because that's what it's going to start off at, then we're going to grab that card from here. You know what? I'm trying to think. What's the best way to randomize this thing? I don't think there's like a random, no. Okay. Let me think about this just for a second. Card array, random number. Okay. I think what we need to do is go in a while loop here for int I equals 0, I less than number of cards I plus plus. And all of this random logic needs to be in here. So for each spot in the array, we have to grab a random card from before. And actually this should be, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a card out of the list and then we won't have to worry about getting the same card twice. So we're going to go ahead and, so the first time through, let's just say the first time through, cards.count would be 16. So it's going to give us a random one between 0 and 15. And then we can do card array at that random number. No, we just take that random number and we say cards random number. That's the value of that card basically. And we're going to store that into card array I. I think that will work. And then we would do cards.remove at random number. Is that going to work? And then we got to update this down here. Let's find out. Let's find out. I think it will. Oh, we've hidden our numbers, so I can't tell if it works or not. Okay, remove that hidden attribute. Yeah, it looks pretty random. Okay, cool. So what we want to do then is, I'm just going to refresh just to make sure it's in a different order. Yes, it is. Okay, great. So this was kind of a weird, I don't know, there's probably a better way to sort a list randomly, but it worked. So let's go ahead and now put this hidden attribute on it. And just for right now, let's go ahead and actually, we need to store whether or not this card has been clicked, basically. So we also so we have a list of cards, but we also need a list of clicked cards. Well, let's go ahead and do this. List of int clicked cards. I'm just kind of making this up on the fly. That's why it may look like I'm a little all over the place, but that's how it is with programming sometimes. So we've got clicked cards, and we're going to go ahead and when we click this card, let's go ahead and put an onClick event. So onClick equals, and what do we want to do? So this card is being clicked. We want to add the index of this card to this clicked cards list, basically. And that way we'll know which cards have been clicked, and then when two of them are in there, we will decide if they match, and if they do, we'll remove them, and if they don't, we won't. So, alright, all that to say, let's go ahead and change this from a 4 each to a 4 so that we actually have the index of the card. So int index equals 0, index less than card array dot length, index plus plus. All right, so we're going to go through all of them, and we're going to set int card equals card array index. So we've got a card array, and we're going to store the one that we found into this card, basically. And we're going to do, when we on-click it, we're going to add that index to the clicked cards list. Okay, let's go ahead and try that. Clicked cards dot add index. All right. So, and then for hidden now, we only want to hide it if clicked cards dot contains index. If it doesn't contain this index, we want to hide it. All right. Sorry for jumping around so much. I should have. It's kind of hard to sometimes when you don't exactly know how things are going to work. But let's go ahead and try this now. So we have, when we click this div, we're going to add it to this clicked cards array, and that should flip it over, basically allowing us to see the number. Let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to close all these other ones. All right, looks like we're not seeing anything. So, oh, this should be less than, not greater than. There we go. All right, now we click this and it's not doing anything. It doesn't appear to be doing anything anyways. Let's go ahead and debug this, sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and debug it. Something's probably not quite right. All right, we are not even hitting. Oh, we're not hitting our breakpoint at all. It's not bound. Whatever that means. All right. Void card clicked int index. All right. Let's maybe the problem is we can't bind to this lambda function, I guess. I don't know. Let's try this. So card clicked at index. Maybe we can set a breakpoint here. Let's try that. Oops, I need a semicolon. No, we do not have, oh, yep, yeah, now we do. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and try clicking it. Okay, we did get there. That is definitely, oh, okay. I see what's going on. Our for loop goes from 0 to 16. So by the time it actually gets clicked, index is now 16. It's not the actual index of the card. So basically all we need to do is create a local index here, because this index here is kind of global for the whole loop. So local index equals index. And let's go ahead and try these things. I think that will hopefully solve our problem. Yeah, all right. We don't need that anymore. So when we click this, we can see what they are, which is great. So now let's do a couple more things. So we made it so when you click the thing, it will show the number. Let's go ahead and say if clicked cards dot count or dot length, no, it is count, equals 2, then we're going to basically flip them back over. Clicked cards dot clear. So we've got, if we've got 2 cards flipped over, we're going to clear them out. But I also want to kind of wait a few seconds to do that, because otherwise it's going to go away right away. So let's do Let's do task dot delay. Let's do 1 second, I guess. Dot continue with, and in there we'll put this code. So basically, we're just going to wait a second, and then we're going to clear it out. And what is the problem? Oh, we're not returning task.completed task, I guess is probably what it's complaining about. Task does not, oh. It takes an argument. Okay, we don't care about it though. So we're going to delay a second and then continue with clearing it out. Let's try that first. Okay, we got those two, and nothing happened. Oh. Well, that was odd. Let's see what's going on here. We got 1, 2. We click a third one and it clears them out. And then we, okay. All right, so I think what's going on is we needed to say state has changed. I don't think the component knows to re-render itself because it's within this task. I think that's the issue. Basically, this task.delay is going to go on a different thread, and we need to basically clear it out. And also, we need to have an if statement up here that says if clicked cards dot count equals 2. That we're not going to do anything. Basically, if they try to click a third one before the timer's over, it's not going to let them do that. Because I think that was another problem that I saw while I was testing that. All right, there we go. So that is a good start. Now let's see, if we matched one though, we would want to basically take that away. And I think what we can do is, I think now this is going to be the easy part finally. If we have a list of int matched cards, we can store the indexes of the cards that were matched. So here, when we check to see if there's 2, we can basically see if the clicked cards contain the same number. Now remember, clicked cards just has an index at this point. So what we need to do is we need to do card array clicked cards 0. That's going to give us the first card that was clicked. So let's store that into a variable num1 int num2 equals card array clicked cards 1. And basically now we're going to have 2 cards here. We're going to check to see if they're equal. So if num1 equals num2, we're going to add to the matched cards these 2 indexes. So dot add clicked cards 0 and clicked cards 1. I probably could have done it slightly differently, but hey, you never know. So now we're gonna add to the matched cards list, and basically if they're in the matched cards list, let's just go ahead and not even show them for now. We'll mess with some CSS later, but if if matched cards dot contains index continue. So we're basically not even going to show it if it matches. Now we'll worry about what actually to do later, but just iterating through this whole thing. All right, so 6 and 3, 2 and 2. And if you notice, it doesn't look like anything happened, but it actually did remove 2 things. Because now it's 1 and there's 4 and 4. And if you look, we removed 2 more. All right. Which one was it? This one and this one. Okay. Apparently I'm really bad at this game. Okay. There's 8. Well, they keep moving around. I think that's the problem. Normally, it's not this hard. All right, 7 and 7. 5 and 5. All right, it's cool. So that's a good place to start. But yeah, the problem is they move around and then you don't know where they're at anymore. So let's go ahead and not do that. So if it is contained in here, what we want to do is we want to display something else. Otherwise, we want to basically display what we previously had, which was that div. So let's go ahead and put div. Yeah, sure, div. And this time we'll give it a class of found. And this one, we'll go ahead and go back to our index.razor.css. And if it is found, let's go ahead and copy this. .found, we'll just put the background as white and put a little bit of a border around it. Just to give a little bit of visual indication that it was found, I guess. Or, you know what? Let's not put a border at all. I think it'll be better if it's just white, because it'll just be an empty space, basically. All right, 5 and 5. Oh, yeah, look at that. That worked. There we go. I think it's working. So obviously there's a lot more CSS you can do with this, but you kind of get the idea, right? So let me just kind of recap, because I know I went a little bit quickly at times and I was a little bit scatterbrained at times. So let's go ahead and go through overall what happened. When we first came into the component, I went ahead and added some cards, and I gave those cards some numbers. From there, I randomly inserted those cards into an array called card array. Then I would take that card array and put it in a loop here and iterate through each of these cards. For each card, I allowed them to click it, and when they clicked it, it fired off an event that did some things. We'll look at that in a second. And then whether or not the number was hidden depended on if the list contained that index, that card index. So again, the card clicked event now comes up here, and if there's 2 of them in there, it's not going to let you click a third one. Otherwise, it's going to let you add it, and then after a second, it will, if there's 2 in there, it will kind of do some logic here to decide if it was matched or not. And that's pretty much it. So I hope this was useful for you. Maybe you can take this code and run with it a little bit further. I think what I'll do is I'll put this out on GitHub and I'll link to it in the description, just so we kind of you kind of have a base point if you want to improve on it. I'm sure there's things I could have done differently, but hey, we made it through it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions on anything Blazor related or on this video. And again, join our Discord server and we'll get some discussions going on there too. So, all right, thanks for watching.